Okay, MS. Okay, Miss Orode, and she'll be speaking to us about politics. And one of the reasons why I believe that this topic is going to be fit is because I went through her profile, and I think some of us who are live on live right now actually can testify to her profile. So without wasting too much of our time, we're going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll go straight into this section. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Miracle, for having me on today's session. My name is Orade Udwaha, and I am currently the Honorable Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs, Community Support Services, and Girl Child Development in Delta State, Nigeria. What else? I don't know. Is there anything else I should say as an introduction? Okay, well,
I mean,
I have my first degree I have a first degree in psychology.
wow.
How I got into politics is a very different conversation, but my initial my initial career path was actually psychology. I wanted to truly understand the human mind and how people behave and why they behave.
Mm,
And then from psychology, I sort of dived a little bit into public policy and health, because right about the time I had started like a foundation for breast cancer awareness. I was quite interested in healthcare and how it affected the average Nigerian woman, particularly women in rural areas, and then that sort of evolved into other things, because dealing with healthcare, you find that it's not just a system problem, but also the average Nigerian woman struggles with basic necessities. So that translates in also how she decides to take care of herself or even approach healthcare in the first place. So our findings from that foundation, we now expanded a little bit into women empowerment, because we found that a woman is only going to go to the hospital if she has money in her pocket, right? So that expanded to that, and then in doing that, we found some more problems along the way, and then we also expanded into like education as well. So it just morphed into so many other things. You know how it is now, as you're digging and finding solutions to one problem, you're finding other problems popping up. So with every problem that we found along the way, we tried as much as possible to create solutions. And then I sort of did business a little bit. So I have a master's degree in business administration, but with a healthcare specialism, because really and truly I'm very passionate about healthcare. And then I've run a couple of businesses. I've been in the hospital, or I am still in the hospitality industry. I've done a bit of education. I've done oil and gas at some point in this lifetime. I've done events back in Lagos. That one just comes naturally. And then in 2021, I got my first appointment here in Delta State as the senior special assistant to the then Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, on small and medium enterprises. And then from there, I sort of got interested in. I always knew that politics will come at some point. I was just too afraid to try, because it's a bit scary from outside. But I got into politics from there. I ran for the House of Assembly here. I didn't quite get the ticket, but then because of the potential and what I was able to do in that space, I got this appointment as a commissioner. So that's where I am right now.
wow, wow. Thank you so much. That was a good introduction actually. So we're gonna go straight into the section, and then we're gonna be asking real like questions, and then a lot of viewers right now, one of the things that we want to make is to be very honest and sincere with the questions, as much as we're going to be quite diplomatic with the questions. But the first question I want to ask is, a lot of people say, young people say, politics isn't my thing. Why do you think we avoid it, and what do we do? What do we do, and what do we lose by doing that? Avoiding politics.
Okay, so I think a lot of people find the way I do my own politics a bit different, because I don't have gray areas. Is black, is white is white. I like to say the truth as much as possible. And I think in the Nigerian political space, people still find it very weird They call me activist politician, but um, politics can be scary if we're being honest, and it's not just Nigeria; it's everywhere in the world. I mean, look at what is happening in the United States, for instance. If you look into other countries as well, things that have happened around politics and how it's just weird from the outside. So I would not blame young people when they kind of stay away from it, because it almost seems like a barrier that we cannot break. And really and truly, to a large extent, um, it has certain barriers that might almost seem impossible to break for a young person. I'll give you an example. Um, I come from a political family, right? But even at that, I still find barriers that I meet along the way as a young person, one, as a woman, two. You will think that because of the background that I come from, it would be an automatic ticket, but that's not true. Um, the political landscape here still finds it almost difficult to just say, hey, you're 26 or you're 35, let's hug you and bring you into the system. Because there's almost it's a borderline, it almost seems like a borderline lack of trust in our capability as young people. So they want you to prove that you can handle the responsibility that comes with politics to a large extent. And even when you have proved that you can, there's still a bit of skepticism, especially if you're a woman in this political climate. So when young people don't come on board, it's so many things. It's also things like lack of funding as well. Politics is very expensive. If you want to come into the space, you need to have good funding. There are just so many things that might seem scary from the outside world. It might seem unstructural from the outside world. It might seem like there's a lot of corruption and dirt and all that from the outside world. So it is scary for the average young person to come into politics. But let me say this, in the next 20, 30 years, and I'm not wishing anything negative on anyone, but in the next 20 to 30 years, the current people that we see in the political landscape might not be there anymore. Now, if we as young people today don't get involved now, by the time 20 to 30 years, something is making so much noise. Okay, by the time it's 20 to 30 years, we would have realized that we had missed out on the experience that would make us amazing leaders at that time. Because you can't just wake up 20 years from now and say, okay, I want to now be a leader because I'm now 60 something. No, you start now to begin to experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that by the time is 15, 10, 20 years, you have a truckload of experiences that makes you the leader that we need in this country. So I would advise young people to start today, no matter how small. People think that politics is about holding office. Yes, to a large extent, yes. But then, what are you doing in your immediate community to make a difference? What are you doing in the compound that you're currently living in with your 6 or 7 neighbors that is different from what other people are doing? What are you doing that makes you outstanding amongst the people that see you every single day? That's where politics starts from. It's literally it's just you getting the opportunity to now translate, all of those experiences on a larger platform. But we start from somewhere. With or without the actual mandate, you need to start from somewhere. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, mom. Thank you so much. Okay, so this other question, it's I think a lot of young people, we have a lot of young people that actually probably want to ask questions like this. What does it mean to understand the system? For someone who just really wants to do good, and just lead change. Someone who just has like a very sincere ambition just to really do something good. And then how do you think understanding system is really important to people who really want to like just do good and make impact?
Yeah, I think understanding systems is important. I also think that understanding the specific system you find yourself in is also very important. Um, you cannot take how the climate of a United States political structure works and fit it into a Nigerian landscape, you would almost be hitting brick walls. And people don't like to admit this. We're a very different set of human beings here than they are over there. What might seem like a fantastic idea, right, in a US political climate might seem like an oversabi idea in the Nigerian political climate. And I'm just being honest, right? So you have to sort of understand the climates that you have been given. So for instance, I'm very opinionated. Like I like to say my mind as they do me. I'm saying it like without hesitation because I like to believe that I should be able to express myself. I was raised, I'm a girl, I'm a woman, but in my family there was no gender difference, whether you're a woman or a man. My parents didn't raise us to say, okay, women sit down and then men speak. No, we could express ourselves the way we wanted. But coming into the climate, I realized that this is not how it's necessarily done here 100%. So I've had to learn that even though I have my opinions and I'm a very strong woman and I will say it as it is, I study the atmosphere on when to display that characteristic and when not to, so that I can get what I want when I want it and how I want it. If I come into the climate and I raise my shoulders and I say, well, I'm a woman, I'm a feminist, this is, you should, give us our voice, blah, 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 and I'm fighting everyone, at the end of the day, to be honest, I would not achieve what I need to because the system is already set up for that to literally bash or silence that kind of attitude, right? So I've had to study my atmosphere. I've had to study my climate. I've had to be political about how I relate to the people around me, right? That's where the wisdom comes in. So you need to be able to understand the structure that you're in. You can't bring a foreign, I mean, yes, at some point things are going to get better, but you meet them in the middle. You can bring your fantastic ideas. Like I have a lot of things that I do in Delta State here, but the way in which I execute or implement my ideas, I don't bring it as if I'm about to fight the current system. I show you why what I'm bringing to the table will help you better than what you already have. But then our generation of young people always come with a fight. It's not always the way to move forward. That's the honest truth. So you have to literally understand where you are and figure out how to, let me use this word, play the politics so that you get to do what you need to do and how you need to do it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, ma'am. I mean, I think it's getting really, it's getting there. We're getting there. And the other question, which I believe is also very important, is and I think we have this, this is like a very big challenge when it comes to politics, especially in West Africa and Nigeria as a whole. And how do you stay true to your values while dealing with political system or political structure or a power structure? And how do you really stay true to yourself?
Um, so from the very beginning, when I came into the system, I would be honest, I had an identity struggle because I'm thinking, oh, wow, okay, I never expected this. I didn't think this is what I was going to make here. I had a bit of an identity struggle. But then I had to pull myself back and say to myself, already, who are you really? Right? And what do you stand for? And if tomorrow you were no longer in this office, what would matter then? So that for me is very important. I'm not always going to be a politician. I'm not always going to be an honorable commissioner, but I'm always going to be already, right? And what already is or who already is matter more than the office that I'm holding right now. So I came into the system or I evolved in the system with that mindset. And I began to express myself that way. So much so that there are certain things people don't bring to me because they already know that this one her head is not correct, right? She will not agree. Like, just leave her out of this. She's not going to do it. Forget about it, right? It wasn't easy to distinguish myself. It wasn't easy to say, I stand for this and I stand for that. You would be lonely because it's not everybody that will share the same values as you. But then I'd rather walk away from this office with my name intact, right? And than feel like, oh, I'm losing out on something. So I've been able to draw a line. I miss out on a lot of things because of the line that I've drawn, but that's fine. That's really fine. But I've told myself this office is not forever, but you as a human being, you are, I mean, till God calls you home, you are still going to be a human being. And whatever you decide to do today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, determines what that's what that human being is going to be in the next 30, 40, 50 years. So I've tried to hold my values. It's not easy. I won't lie to you. I'll be very honest for everyone who is listening. It's actually not easy because a lot of things are just in your face, right? And sometimes it's like, oh my God, let me just hide somewhere. Like, I don't know how to deal with this. But then I remember why I'm here, and I remember that what I'm bringing to the table and for the people I'm bringing it for is more important than the little setbacks that I have in trying to define the value system that I represent or stand for. And over time, let me tell you the truth, over time, people fall in line. That's the truth. And I'm speaking from experience. I've been in this office for 2 years. And I will tell you that my first 3, 6 months, 7 months was very rough. Very, very rough. Very, 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 very rough. Because I was changing the system. I was switching up a lot of things. I was making things more, what's it called? More transparent, but not even transparency, but I was making things more effective. And people who have been here for years and years are like, who be this one? Just like, who is this? But over time, they began to see the reason why I was making some of the decisions I was making because it was both for our benefit, our safety, and for the benefit of the average Delta, right? So when you're walking on the streets and people are like, God bless Governor Sherry for God bless this, that, because they had gotten an empowerment without having to know a politician or have a big boy somewhere, and it was just, by random selection and merit, they see the results in that. It was a struggle, but eventually they begin to see the why I made certain decisions that I made. So just try as much as possible to distinguish yourself and let everybody know this is what you stand for. And if they can't align with your values, then it's okay to walk away. It's okay to walk away and, impact the community in another way if you cannot deal with the things around you. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Miss Already. Thank you so, so, so much. And I mean, I'm happy that this is really quite very honest and it's like a heart-to-heart talk. And for everyone who's listening, thank you so much. Okay, so the next question is oftentimes when people hear the word politics, we think it's like, oh, it's political landscape alone. It's only in the political landscape alone. So we don't really talk about politics in other areas. And also the question is, what are some of the subtle forms of politics that we experience in places like school, work, church, NGOs, but we often don't really talk about, and yeah, that we often don't really talk about, but we have to like be mindful of it.
Um, I mean, there's politics everywhere around us, even in your home between your two children, right? Like, honestly, there's politics. I mean, you're older than your sibling by 6 months, but then you get a chicken that is 3 times bigger than the next. But like, there's just politics playing everywhere. Um, the only thing that might be a disadvantage to that is that it is not done in such a way that is detrimental to the people that it affects. So, say in the church setting, for example, if you play politics and the politics you're playing is detrimental to the sheeps you're supposed to be leading, then that becomes a problem, right? if you're in a school setting, for instance, and you say, okay, I'm going to put my brother and my sister who don't have a certification in XYZ as the head of department, or the, whatever in the school department, a leader or something that is very important. And because that person is not qualified for that position, it affects the structure of the students' learning. That becomes a problem. That's where I have a problem with it. Um, so it does affect everything around us. There's politics being played in every aspect of our lives. But we need to, and I'm saying this from, I'm now speaking to leaders or people in positions who make these decisions. We need to be very mindful of the lives that this affects. If you are playing politics to the detriment of the people, that's not a good leadership quality. That's not okay. So I would say that we should be mindful in how we deal with some of the decisions that we make as leaders in whatever sphere. Politics is decision making the decisions that affect the everyday life of the people that you are leading. So if you're in a school setting and the decisions you're making are detrimental to the students and to the life of the people around you, then have a rethink. If you're in a church setting, a hospital setting, whatever it is, and the decisions you're making, politics is supposed to empower the people, not deplete their lives. It's supposed to encourage, it's supposed to uplift, it's supposed to be for the development and the progress of the people that you're leading or serving. Now, if that becomes the other way around, then you've totally missed the idea of what politics is about. Unfortunately, that's what we see around us. It's not rulership. Um it's not portfolios to step on people's heads or press people's necks. Politics is service. It's for you to go and actually put your shoulder down for people to step on. That's what politics should truly be about, or governance. So if whatever you're doing as a leader is not to the improvement of the people around you, um, that's not okay. It's not okay.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Rudy. Thank you so much. So the a question before the last question is this. You know, we're having we're having a lot of problems like this, where you're people trying to fight system. So what's one common mistake young people, make when they try to avoid or fight the system, from
Fight the
experience?
system how?
So let's say, for example, okay, now when you held your post, probably you saw there's a way things were being held where you were, and then because you were like, okay, I want to make a change, and then you come in, and you're trying to like, hey, you're not going to do it this way, and sometimes in the process we make certain mistakes. So the question is, what
Yeah.
are the certain mistakes we're making, in trying to like fight the system or try to do something to change something that we found?
Okay. I would give you a neutral example, not a political setting example. So I did my MBA research on maternal mortality, and social return on investment in the healthcare sector in Nigeria. And one of the things that we found was that a lot of women in Nigeria, particularly Nigeria is number 3 in the world, by the way, when it comes to women dying at childbirth or at pregnancy. And one of the things that we found was that a lot of the women, a lot of the issues came from traditional birth attendants not knowing what to do, particularly in emergency cases or high risk pregnancies, right? Now, you take that finding and you come into a community and say, you know what, I want all you women to stop seeing your traditional birth attendants. Start going to the Western hospital or the public healthcare center or the clinic there, right? Stop seeing the traditional birth attendant. And we found that 99.9% of the women still refused. Still refused. This is now not politics. This is something that is life threatening, right? Still refuse to attend regular antenatal or go to normal clinics. Why? Because as far as they were concerned, They were used to a system. So we said, okay, this is something we noticed. We said, okay, no problem. So now, instead of telling you women, come to our clinic and speak all the many, many English that we're speaking for you people, what we've decided to do is take this traditional birth attendants, upgrade their skill, right? Train them, tell them what they need to know, how they need to do things, right? How to spot high risk pregnancies, where to refer a high risk pregnancy to, give them the necessary tools, right? Take them through a process of training and then take them back into the communities. Now, what you've done is you've not brought your I can do battle by myself attitude, right, to these women, because they don't know you. They're not used to your way of life. They're used to their traditional birth attendants. So what is the common factor between you and the women is the traditional birth attendants. So upgrading the skills of those women has really helped in not just saving the lives of these pregnant women, but also them getting a bit more comfortable with the Western system. So if your TBA is coming to tell you, please go to a clinic, she's more likely to listen to that her traditional birth attendants, who will probably most likely even follow her to the clinic, than you who came with your certificate from London. Do you know what I'm saying? So in changing systems, you can't do it by force. Sometimes you can, especially when you know that it is very, if you are seeing death in front of you, you don't speak English. You take immediate action. You know what I mean? If you see that the system is detrimental, so I would not come into a system and notice that what they are doing there is going to kill the people in the state and keep quiet and be speaking English. No, I will take immediate action. I will shout and scream from the rooftop. But if you realize that it's a long shot, this is something that is like a structure that really needs to be like bad structure that needs to be uprooted and then reshaped, you have to learn to meet them in the middle. You have to learn to meet them in the middle. You can't come and bamboozle them. You have dialogues. You lead by example, right? When I came into my office, and I'm gonna say this, I didn't have a lot of the civil servants who worked with me who knew how to use computers. So instead of getting mad and upset at that, we started an in-house office training on how to use computers by themselves. Like a couple of the civil servants who already knew how to. I spoke to them. I was like, okay, what do we do about this? They're like, you know what? Let's train ourselves. And then gradually, I started to move from the analog way of doing things in the office to a more digital. So I remember the first time when I said, oh, we're going to have a Google meeting online. Hey, Jesus. It was like, what is this? What's happening here? What, you know? But over time, they realized that it was more efficient sometimes, that even when commissioner is not in Asaba, we can still work. I'm sending emails, right? We're sending emails back and forth. We have WhatsApp groups back and forth. We're having Google meetings online back and forth. They realize that work doesn't have to pause if I'm not physically present, or they are not physically present, or there's a puzzle missing. Things can keep moving, right? Because there are new tools that ensures that happens. So we met ourselves in the middle. Now, before you know it, in the next, God willing, in the next 1 year, there are so many other analog systems of doing things that I'm hoping to eliminate. And I'm doing it by example. So if I'm saying, okay, I don't want us to be using paper to do stuff, I have to then teach you how to upgrade the skill that you have. I'm not going to come to the office and say, tear the papers right now. You people are no longer using paper and biro. And then you don't know how to use computers. It will be counterproductive. I also will be losing, because then my work would just be stalled. So as young people, I know we have fire in our bones, and trust me, I don't think there's anybody on this call that has more fire and more gragra than I am. I am like my head gets hot, right? I'm very up to speed. But I've also learned over time that you cannot always pour your ideas on people who already have a way of life, who are already used to a system, whether it's dysfunctional or not, is what they are used to. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, is something they are already accustomed to. So if I want to change the dysfunction, I have to present them with something that is a little bit better, that also looks like what they are used to, but not dysfunctional. Do you understand? And then teach them how to meet me where I am. And one thing we also need to learn as young people, particularly those in leadership positions, is the ability to be patient. We are very fast paced. We want things to be done in 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds. But then you're not always going to be in the midst of people who are able to meet up to your speed. For instance, I'm the youngest commissioner in Delta State. In my office, I'm the boss of my office. I'm the commissioner in my office, but I'm the youngest person. No, okay, I have two other people that are younger than me that are civil servants. But then I come into an office and I have 6 directors, and none of them are below 50 years, but I'm their boss. Now, how do you work with that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do I just say, oh, no, I'm not doing, no, you can't. They are civil servants. They are assigned to your office. You're going to have to learn to be patient. I have a particular director who, when he's communicating Miracle, he takes his time. And I like to get to the point ASAP, right? So at first it was, I would sit down and be like tapping my toes, or I would move my body like 100 times, like, okay, guy, let's get to the point of this conversation. But at the end of the day, I realized that what he's saying makes so much sense. He just says it at a very slow pace. So what did I get to do? I had to learn to, first of all, make him talk last so that everybody else has finished talking. But then I also learned to be patient with him as he speaks. And then also I've learned to prompt him as he's speaking. So if he's saying something, I'm saying, oh, is this what you mean? So he gets to that point quicker than he would usually have gotten to, right? So I've learned that pace, that patience with him. Because the truth is, everybody is valuable. Judas was necessary for Jesus to be crucified, right? So you might come into the system and think that you are the most righteous and the purest person in the structure, but that's not true. The people you think are very dysfunctional are also very important in the system, because they teach you what not to do, right? They are the ones that show you the things that are going wrong so that you actually have something to correct. So patience is very important for us as young leaders, right? Understanding our terrain is very important, and learning not to pour out what we think is right at other people's faces without truly understanding what is already on ground is also very important.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, really. I mean, this is really insightful, really insightful. So we've come to the end of the section, but before we let you go, I want to say a big thank you, very big thank you, very big thank you for, I mean, accepting this and for wanting to make this happen. I mean, you had a lot of patience for really do. I'm really grateful. So before we let you go, we have the last question for you, and we want this to come from within you. It should come from within you, from so much from within you, your level of experience, your level of exposure, of your experience so far, being who you are, being the means already that you are now. And which is this: if every young leader could take something from this section, and if there's an advice you would want to give any young leader from this section, what should it be about power, system, and leadership? What would you want to tell a young kid, a young African leader?
That's a very vital question. Um, what I'm about to say, I'm saying it from the experience of watching closely, very closely, what power and leadership is about. not from my experience yet, because I'm still growing. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned, is that power is transient, very transient. Don't get it, don't get power and feel like you're now in charge of the world. Don't get power and use it to the detriment of other people. That's not why you're giving what you're giving. You might not always be in position, right? But you can always be a leader, right? You might not always be in a position. You might not always be a governor. You might not always be a commissioner. You might not always, in fact, you're not always going to be a governor. There is a tenure, but apart from kings, every power, every leadership position is on tenure. Even if it's not on tenure, you will grow old one day, and they will remove you somehow. So, learn to differentiate between your office and you being a leader. They are two very different things. The office might not always be there, but what defines you as a leader is how well you are able to carry the people around you along with you. It's how well you're able to shape the lives of the people around you. It's how well you're able to ensure that the people around you are moving from point A to point B, irrespective of challenges. You might not always have an office, but you can always and forever remain a leader till you die. Because leadership is service, with or without an actual office, right? So I have learned that from watching people like my father or my family transit from active power to lifetime leadership, right? Um, and I try as much as possible to separate the two. What I do in the office, in my position today, is not what I'm always going to be doing. But who I am as already as a leader is who I'm always going to be. So young people need to learn to differentiate that. And what makes you stay relevant as a human being is the leadership, is the way you lead, is not the way you handled your office title. People will forget. In fact, at some point, over years, except it's written in Wikipedia, people will probably even forget that you were once a commissioner, right? Or you were once a local government chairman, or you were once a, they will forget. But they will always remember how you made them feel as a leader. They always remember the phone call that you picked up when they needed to talk to someone. They always remember the advice you gave them when they were in the darkest of places. They will always remember. And those characteristics are not tenure, they are for life. You can be a leader at 12 years old, you can be a leader at 110. But you cannot be a politician at 12 years old, and you cannot be a politician at 110. Right? So we need to learn what the difference between the office you're holding as a politician or a person in power and who you are as a leader. Two very different things. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So it says that you may not always be in a position, but you can always be a leader. Thank you so much, Miss Already. I'm really grateful. Thank you so
You're
much
very
for
welcome.
making this point. And I
You're
wish,
very welcome.
for those who don't know Miss Already, you could follow on Instagram, and then she's a very impactful woman, and that's the reason why I felt like I should reach out to her and which she answered. So you can reach out for on Instagram, wherever you want to follow her, LinkedIn, Miss Already. I think if you just search for Miss Already, you see Miss Already. You see, you might not come in, but I know you see Miss Already. So thank you so much. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Miracle. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Pathfinder. Thank you as well. Too. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay,
Bye.
everyone.
Have a
Thank you
good
so for
one.
joining as well. Too. Same here. Bye now.